Speaking with someone on another video of mine, some questions came up about how the edge is coming off an India stone onto an Arkansas stone and how fine you can actually get that edge when compared to a water stone. So I figured I would take some knives that are the same model, same steel type, and just run them through a few tests doing exactly that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen on my India stone with two knives. From there, I'm going to take one to the soft arc and then the black arc. The other one I'm going to take to the soft arc and then the hard arc. The other stones, I'm going to take one knife and sharpen it up to a 1K level. And the second knife, I'm going to take it all the way up to the 4K, possibly the 8K level. And I'm going to use the Norton Water stones for this. Figured I would go with the Norton Water stones just because they're pretty popular and a lot of people have them. Now, when it comes to North American or US made water stones, they tend to be a little coarser than the grit rating of the Japanese counterparts, and that definitely holds true for the Nortons. The 8K, for example, is not the same as an 8K Japanese water stone. It's probably closer to, say, a 5K Sharpening Pro. Disregarding that though, we're going to go through all these stones, all these knives, and we're going to see how the edges are. I'm going to do some magnified shots and then bring it all together at the end. So if you don't want to watch the entire process, feel free to skip. This is probably not going to be a short one. So if you guys are interested, stick around. We're going to get into it. I'm going to sharpen the black handled knives on the India and Arkansas stones, and I'm going to sharpen the blue handled with the water stones. I'm going to start out, of course, with the India, get both of these knives sharpened up, get the scratch patterns from the fine stone. I'm not going to take them all the way to the coarse just because the edges are not that bad. They're actually kind of polished, so I'm just going to cut them off and get them sharpened. The lubricant that I'm using is the same stuff that I've been using in most of my videos. It is 1 part dish soap, 1 part baby oil, 4 parts water. Though I alter that recipe a little bit, I put a little more soap and water, but that's the basis, or the basic recipe that I go with, and then I tinker with it till I get it to the thickness that I like. I actually think what I've got currently is a little too soapy, but it'll work for what I'm doing here. I may need to go back and adjust it a little more. So next up, I'm going to do the soft Arkansas stone, and that's where we're going to deviate afterwards. I'm going to use one knife on a hard arc, and the other knife I'm going to take all the way to the black arc. We'll leave the edge there. I'll take some microscopic shots, and then we'll do some edge testing with the edge on up edge tester, and then I'll drag it through some paper and see if we can tell the differences between it and describe the feel between it and the water stones. So I'm going to spend a little extra time on the Arkansas stones just to get out as many of the India scratches as I possibly can. Now, Arkansas stones are capable of handling many steels. When you start getting into the carbide rich stuff though, they do tend to struggle. And some steels they can't do anything with. That M390 that I tried to sharpen from JT's Knife Life, he had on a Benchmade mini griptilian. When I brought it to this soft Arkansas stone, I couldn't get any cutting at all to occur. I was just getting a burnishing effect. And that's not what you want. You want the stone to actually cut the steel. This is my hard Arkansas stone. Now this one had a pretty nasty gouge in the side of it at one point. I've kind of lapped it out and got rid of everything that was causing problems. But in doing so, I had to kind of chamfer the edges a little more than I wanted to. Hopefully that won't be a problem in this sharpening, but as with all things, we'll see what happens. Now this is a finishing stone actually. You can actually go from a soft Arkansas to this stone and then finish on a black arc, or you can actually just stop here. It's a very fine stone, produces a fantastic edge. I actually like the polish on this stone quite a bit. Leaves the edge just a little bit toothier than the black arc. There's not a serious noticeable difference though. It's mainly in the polish. So this is going to be the last stone in the Arkansas series. This is my black Arkansas stone. Now I've got this one lapped currently to a pretty high finish, so very little steel is going to be removed here. This is going to create a pretty fine edge. Patty, I don't know if you're watching, but if you've made it this far, when I was describing to you about your finishing strokes, the way you were doing it, you were coming off the stone like this. And what I was trying to tell you is, what you want to do is stop with the knife still on the stone like this. You want to leave the tip on the stone as you stop, and then just pick up. Finish your stroke, pick up. Finish your stroke, pick up. And that'll keep you from coming off that edge and rounding that tip off. As long as you're not putting a lot of pressure on it, sometimes it doesn't even matter, especially if you're on a fine stone. But if you've got any kind of pressure on it and you come off like that, you're going to round that guy out. And I told you I'd make a video and point you towards what I was talking about. And basically this is it. You just want to go through your whole stroke and stop while you're still on the stone. Alrighty, now we're going to get into the water stones. So with these I'm going to use the Norton water stones. Just like I use the Norton Crystolon, I'm going to use the Norton water stones. Just kind of keep it all in the same family of the same company, whatever, however you want to look at it. So with this one, we're going to go 1K, 4K. We're going to check that edge, and then we're going to go 1K, 4K, 8K, and check that edge. Now, I will give you screenshots and microscopic pictures of each one of these edges, just so we have something to kind of compare it. Now, in terms of cutting, the Norton Crystolon didn't even feel as coarse as this 1K. This 1K, you can really feel it grab that steel and start to cut into it. Now, if you put pressure on the Norton Crystolon, you can get that same feedback, but water stones don't require anywhere near the amount of pressure that Norton Crystolon demands. And the way that stone works, the more pressure you apply, the faster it works. With a water stone, the more pressure you apply, the faster the water stone wears. So in this scenario, what I want to do is just use my hand weight and let the stone do all the cutting. So next up we got the 4K. Now the 4K for Norton is more comparable to most other 1K stones. I would put this pretty much on the same playing field as a King 1000 grit, maybe a Sharpening Pro 1K. You know, there's going to be a few subtle differences between the two, but this 4K is more in line with a 1K stone than it is a 4K stone. And like I said, for some reason, American companies, when they make water stones, the water stones have a coarser grit than the Japanese counterpart. I don't know why that is. You would think they would try to get in line with what the Japanese are doing, since their water stones are the most popular, but there it is. The microscopic photos, it shows that the water stones have that sandblast kind of appearance, whereas the Arkansas stones and the Norton Crystolon are basically just scratches. Last stone for tonight is the Norton 8K. I would put this kind of close to what a black Arkansas stone finish looks like. It's kind of difficult to describe what a black Arkansas finish and edge feels like. You just kind of have to experience it for yourself. But 5 to 8K is a pretty good representation of where it's at. And I think this Norton Water stone is a nice analog towards that, because it's not really an 8K like a Japanese water stone. It's more like a 5K Sharpening Pro. I think that's pretty much got it. Got a really nice polish going on. For each knife, I'm going to use white compound and leather, and I'm going to strop them 10 times each side. Just going to do a real quick cut test, see where the edges are on each knife. So this is the one that was done on the Norton water stones at 4K. This is the Waterstone 8K. Definitely a finer edge. You can feel it in the cut. This was done on the hard Arkansas stone. Toothier, a little more aggressive in the slice. And finally, the one done on the black Arkansas. Toothier than the 8K. This actually feels, cutting wise, like the 4K. Yes, the black arc and the 4K Waterstone cutting feel exactly the same. Edge on up edge tester, we're going to do it the same way we always do, testing in the same general area, 3 cuts, and we'll average the 3 cut tests out. I put a little mark along the blade, so I try to use that spot every time I make a cut. So this is the hard Arkansas stone. It's 160. $144, $119. So these cut test results were kind of all over the place, but averaging them out, the hard Arkansas came out to 144, the black arc came out to 132, the 4K came out to 84, and the 8K came out to 94. Assume that's all in the sharpening or the sharpener, but as you can see, the Arkansas stones definitely don't have quite the same results as the water stones. I don't know what you could attribute that to. It's possible that something to do with the friability of the stone helps remove the burr, which helps keep the apex sharper. I don't know. It could have just been a fluke in my sharpening. I mean, there's 1,000 things you could correlate to why the numbers are what they are. Honestly, in my opinion, these numbers are all so close, I couldn't definitively say one way or another one stone is better than one other particular stone. What I can say is, in the feel of the actual cut, the 4K very much resembled the black Arkansas stone. They feel very similar as you draw through the material. The 8K, you can tell, is much finer than the 4K. And the hard arc is kind of the toothiest out of the whole bunch. You can definitely tell it's a little more coarse than all these other stones. I'm going to bring you guys down for one final look at these bevels. I'm going to give you a close-up just with no magnification, just to show you what they look like after they've been stropped. So this is the hard Arkansas stone. This is the black Arkansas stone. This is the 4K water stone. And lastly, this is the 8K water stone. Lastly, I'll show you the reflectivity of each edge. This is the hard Arkansas stone after stropping. It's not bad at all. This is the black Arkansas stone. A little cleaner, a little more reflectivity. This is the 4K water stone. It's actually a little muddier than all of them. This is the 8K water stone. It's probably got the brightest polish out of the bunch. This is the 8K. This is the 4K. This is the black Arkansas stone. And this is the hard Arkansas stone. Well guys, I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them below. Y'all have a good one.